Hey everybody, I just wanted to talk about the full moon that is coming up on May 29th at 7:14 Pacific Standard Time, and what we can do to really prepare for this moon and what we can do with this moon. So it's a full moon, and as we move from a new moon was last week, I think Tuesday. Um, as we move from a new moon to a full moon, we're looking to see what things we're going to cultivate in our life. As we move from the full moon to a new moon, we're looking at things to release from our lives. So this full moon is going to be a full moon in Sagittarius. And we're looking to cultivate some of that energy that plays between the dualities of Sagittarius and Gemini. The sun will be in Gemini. It entered into Gemini today, the day of this recording. And so Sorry, there you got a glimpse at my birth chart. Wrong chart open. I always see how these things are affecting me also. So we have the sun in Gemini, and then across the way, across the sky, is going to be the moon in Sagittarius. That's how we get the full moon. Now, Gemini is an air sign. It's an air sign that loves information, and Sagittarius also really loves information, but there's a different nature to this, right? Gemini is experiencing information through the realm of the intellect. It wants to just gather and gather and gather and gather and gather and then expresses information. If we look at it in its relationship to the other signs, life sparks with Aries in a cycle. For instance, spring starts with Aries. Then it has to be embodied in a vessel with Taurus. In Gemini, it is pollinated, right? It comes in contact with other vessels. It comes in contact with the pollination of new ideas, new thoughts. It's pollinated. And then in Cancer, which is over here, so we got Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, it starts to gestate. That gestation then births itself as that Leo child, right? That Leo child that wants to create and role play and explore the world. Mainly through, because you're going to hear me say exploration again. So that exploration really has to focus on exploration of personality and role and things to entertain and delight in. That then moves into Virgo, which looks at a greater relationship between the self and the cosmos, especially in relationship of serving a greater purpose, serving that cosmos, serving the divine. In Libra, we look for balance between the cosmos and the individual, and how we're working in balance in relationship to the cosmos and in balance in relationship to each other in our own personal relationships. In Scorpio, we kind of merge all this together. We overcome obstacles and struggles. We bring together opposites, which is where all that pain and that angst and that struggle comes from. And then we transform, we transmute. As I work with people going through the seasons, Scorpio is an amazing time to really dig into what's happening in the unconscious. Get rid of any delusions or illusions that are in there. Dig them out. Get some exorcisms going on. And then clear and purify our vision for Sagittarius. And that's where Sagittarius comes into this entire process. Gemini gathers information, but Sagittarius synthesizes information. Gemini loves data, loves conversation, but Sagittarius takes all of this and turns it into a new perspective, a new viewpoint, a new way of seeing the world. When the sun is in Gemini, the outside world is giving us plenty of data points. But with the moon in Sagittarius, what she will be asking for is for us to take those data points and turn them into a world vision, to find meaning in the data, and to now create a new way of seeing the world. And this is perfect because there's going to be a Gran Trine between Venus and Cancer, Neptune and Pisces, and retrograde Jupiter in Scorpio. So all three of the water signs are going to be connected on the day of this full moon. It'll take a couple more days for it to come into perfect alignment, but they're going to be connected on the day of the full moon, connecting the realms of water. Now, the moon naturally rules over these internal realm states, and especially in astrology, she rules over Cancer, where Venus is a very receptive planet, will allow us to really bring in and attract to us this insight of the inner world, this insight of this inner space in all of its manifestations, from the dreaminess of Cancer to the emotional realm, so the dreaminess, intuitional realm of Pisces, misspoke there, to the emotional, nurturing realm of Cancer, and the unconscious, magical inner realm of power and conflict and duality and resolution and alchemy of Scorpio. And it's an interesting relationship because you have the moon who naturally rules over Cancer, so she is connected to this part of the trine. You have the moon in Sagittarius, which naturally is affiliated with Jupiter, so there's a connection there. Not so much for Pisces, but there is this heavenly connection now with the trines, and Neptune and Pisces is at home. So that vision, that fiery vision of Sagittarius is definitely going to take on a watery hue, right? It's going to have to make sure that it aligns with the truths of our inner world, of our instincts, our intuitions, and the lessons that we've gained from the unconscious and the subconscious, which reminds me of a quote, well, I'm going to paraphrase, but Jung talked about, Jung, a psychologist who worked a lot with the unconscious, talked about the fact that unless we truly treat the unconscious and the archetypes and the things that we dig up from our inner realm as truth with which we live our lives, then there will always be a conflict between us and the inner realm. Because unless we take the inner realm seriously, we're going to be living out lives that don't actually flow with that inner realm. So the reason why I bring this up is I believe that a great lesson here is going to be the fact that we're going to have to, whatever vision comes out in Sagittarius, is going to not only have to deal with the data brought in and taken in by the Sun in Gemini, but it's going to have to truly agree with the lessons and the teachings and the inspiration of our inner realm, of our dreams, of the inner work that we've done, of the archetypes that lie within, of the alchemy that we do with our lives. It's going to have to agree in order to really sync up and make the most use of this full moon in this amazing alignment of the stars. This offers so much easy flow of energy, such a great easy flow of energy that is also well connected, right? It connects over. There will be some tension here, but it connects us over to the Earth in Capricorn with Sagittarius. It connects us over to Mars in Aquarius, which is a sign of inspiration. There's connections happening, crisscrossing. The first thing I thought of was weaving, crisscrossing the different sides of the chart. And really, it's going to all have to come together as a means for taking the data that we have and turning it, synthesizing it into a world vision which agrees with us, not only through actually having something true to say about the world, but aligning with the fiery, passionate, spiritual nature of ourselves, which is represented by fire in Sagittarius, and the inner realms and the inner truths that we have found within the world within. So I just wanted to offer that up. I know that I jumped ahead there. So I know that what I will be working on is cultivating the awareness that these things really have to line up. I know that for me, sometimes I've definitely gotten internal messages, and because I didn't know what to do with them, I put them on the back burner. Right? I didn't immediately act upon them, which I think you should sit with things. I don't think you necessarily need to immediately act upon them. But I didn't allow the inner realms truth to really live through me. I didn't embody it, right? And so it created tensions where I would get myself into situations that didn't really jive well with what was going on inside and what truths arose from that. So I will be looking to cultivate over this next week and some days to cultivate a greater mindfulness about what truths have arisen from that inner realm, right? What truths have come from my dreams? What truths have come from the struggles that I've overcome that have given me a deeper insight into my own nature and into the nature of others and in the world? What has come from my own self-care? What truth has come from exploring my own emotions and seeing how they respond to the world and knowing what I am like on an inner level? What truths have arisen from these? I'm going to work on compiling these and making sure that they fit now into a vision of the world that can unite that inner vision and that instinctual inner vision with the data that comes in. I love this process. Personally, I get obsessed with this process because it is so amazing to unite these modes of spiritual exploration, self-help, and healing with neurology and information from the sciences and ways of seeing our body chemistry and seeing the way that all these things come together. But these need to then be put into a perspective that helps us understand the world and understand each other. I know for me, it's done a lot to help me doing all this inner work along with gathering information about how the brain and the body works. Helps me understand people who do things and go through things that I initially would not understand, right? It helps me understand people and their addictions. It helps me understand people in their mental health crises. It helps me understand people who I would probably write off as just being a jerk and recognize like, oh, they're in a stress state or they're in an anxiety state or they're in this state or that state, or they had this previous conditioning that created this chemical composition and internal composition that they're working through. So it helps me understand these things. And that view of the world, that perspective on the world, helps me navigate the world a lot more. So this will be the perfect time to really just make sure that your perspective on the world really, it correlates and it aligns with your data, your information that you've gathered, and what goes on in the inner realm. And so cultivating your awareness of those inner experiences and the information that you've been taking in from Gemini will be a huge piece of working with this full moon and then seeing what big messages come up, right? What big truths and revelations of how the world works and aligns with that inner world, what comes up for you during this full moon. Okay, great. I just wanted to share that and go over that with people. I'll be doing a write-up on this also. And then, yeah, if you want to join us, I'll be hosting a full moon meditation on Patreon on the 29th at 7 a.m. I do a recording, so it's there for people later. To gain access to that, you can check out my Returning to Nature's Rhythm workshop and join the Dream and Tide group, or Dream and Tide tier, where we work with every full moon and every new moon. And we do a monthly integration session, and we do a guided meditation for every full moon and every new moon. And then also the Returning Nature Rhythms group, both on Patreon and on Facebook, as a Facebook group, has constant information popping up in there about the signs, about the seasons, about this, like what we can do to cultivate new space, and what we can do to release things and what's coming up with new moons and full moons. So, and we're building an amazing freaking fantastic community there. So I'm really excited about all this. I'm really excited about the work that's going on. And I invite you to join us. And blessings also on your work of cultivating what you will be bringing forth with the full moon. This vision that unites the information that you've been gathering in the world abroad and external, and also that internal realm of intuition and instinct and exploration. And yeah, blessings on that work. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye.